Among a sea of Buddhist inhabitants, there is a small minority of people in Myanmar called the Rohingya. The Rohingya are a Muslim minority located in the Rakhine region. They are so strongly discriminated against that the conflict often leads towards violence. Though this conflict seems to lie between two religious groups, the Buddhists and the Muslims, the situation becomes even more complicated through the relatively new government that seems to persecute the Rohingya as much as the Buddhists do. Confined to select areas throughout the country that many label concentration camps, the Rohingya are denied the most basic necessities such as job opportunities, education, and medical attention. For the Rohingya, it seems their religion is more important to them than where they call home, and many try to flee to neighboring countries. Unfortunately, conditions are not much better in Myanmar's surrounding countries, and the Rohingya put themselves in great danger to make this journey. The main conflict revolves around the Buddhist and Muslim population. Though most people consider Buddhism to be a peaceful, non-violent religion, a radical extremist group has formed. This small but influential faction has been promoting and implementing an anti-Muslim campaign throughout Myanmar and even some surrounding countries. They justify their actions by claiming that soon Muslims would take over in their country and threaten their own religion. While there has always been tension between the two religions, the conflict has peaked in recent years, mostly due to government activity. After moving from a dictatorship to a democracy, the government officially declared all Rohingya as aliens in their own country. This opened the door for Buddhist extremists, leading to unprovoked attacks and the development of modern-day concentration camps. Because the Rohingya are now seen as non-residents of Myanmar, the government refuses to protect them or even recognize their existence. To truly understand what life is like for the Rohingya, New York Times journalist Nicholas Kristof went inside a concentration camp and conducted interviews not only with the Rohingya, but also government officials and Buddhist extremists.
I'm Nicholas Kristof. I recently traveled to Myanmar, a Southeast Asian country moving from dictatorship to democracy. But something tragic is unfolding here as the world stands by. Hundreds of thousands of people confined to modern-day concentration camps, and inside, a daily struggle between life and death.
We have a woman who is in labor with a breech delivery. One foot has emerged.
People like Munura Begum are locked up here because of their ethnicity. They live behind fences and police checkpoints. They can't leave, and doctors aren't allowed in, even to save their lives. Munura has been in labor for 20 hours. Her life is at risk. So is the baby's. These are the Rohingya people, a small Muslim minority originally from Bangladesh. For generations, they lived beside their Buddhist neighbors with manageable tensions. But all of that changed. Now they're nowhere to be found in the main city, just outside of the camps.
This may look like a normal city market, but it's not. Here there used to be Muslim traders and businesses. Today there are none. This city has been ethnically cleansed.
The authorities fenced the Muslims into closed camps, leaving them to rot. They can go anywhere within the camps, but they can't leave.
It's like we are like being in the jail. We are like in the bats in the cage, like in the ghetto.
As a result, they're deprived of jobs and schools. But the most urgent issue is medical care.
105? This child has a fever of 105 degrees.
Without doctors, this baby's life now hinges on a wet washcloth. A Buddhist mob broke this man's arm. He couldn't get medical care, so he's now maimed for life. I went to see a senior state official to ask about the Rohingya. I was shocked by his response. How can there be progress for the Rohingya when officials deny their very existence?
In the camp the other day, we saw a young woman who desperately needed a C-section
မှန်တယ်အဲ့လိုမျိုးကြကျွန်တော်တို့ကပြောတယ်လေကိုဝင်ရှိတယ်ဆိုတော့ဟိုဒါကတော့ဒီလူဦးရေနဲ့ပတ်သက်လို့ပြောရင်သူတို့ဒီမှာကမွေးဖွားမှုထိန်းချုပ်မှုသိမ့်မရှိကြဘူး
This hatred is fueled by the most unlikely leaders, Buddhist monks, like the enormously popular Waratu, who spreads hatred on Facebook.
ဟိုမွတ်စလင်တွေကတကယ်တမ်းကျတော့အာဖရိကငခုတွေလိုပဲပေါ့နော်သူကဟိုကြီးထွားနှုံးလဲမြန်တယ်ဟိုဇက်ရိုက်လဲကျန်းတယ်ဟိုဇက်တူငါးတွေကိုလဲစားတယ်ဇက်မတူငါးတွေကိုလဲစားတယ်
These harsh conditions force many Rohingya out of their own country, but the journey out is also dangerous. To escape the violence of Buddhists, many hire smugglers, but these traffickers often take advantage of the Rohingya, claiming one price in Myanmar and then holding them prisoner until their family or village pays them off. Along with running the risk of being held for ransom, the Rohingya also suffer terrible living conditions while traveling. In order to earn more money, smugglers overload their ships with refugees with no way to give them adequate food or water. If a Muslim is able to survive this harsh journey, they are then dropped in another country, still with no citizenship and often with no money. Even so, thousands continue to flee Myanmar. The Rohingya story is tragic and even appears hopeless. However, foreign countries are beginning to take notice of Myanmar's crisis. Countries like the United States and Gambia are now fishing refugees out of the ocean and relocating them to places like Malaysia, where the Muslim population is vast. While it is encouraging to see this intervention of other nations, the only one that can truly end the Rohingya suffering is Myanmar itself. When the Rohingya gain citizenship in the country they have lived in for hundreds of years, they will also receive the protection from their government they so desperately need. This step will not end the hatred between the Buddhists and Muslims, but it will end the violence and give the Rohingya the home that they deserve.